Good morning, friends. We've got Ivona and Rainbow Ribbons in. Awesome. We got Canada and Ireland representing in the chat. Um, I have restarted my computer, and the page that their text messages is on seems to be behaving itself now. So I thought we would start again where we left off yesterday. I was just about to read the 19th. And looks like in the 19th, they started talking about Mackenzie's dad. So that's kind of interesting. Hey, Z Raven girl. Good to see you. Just a second, y'all. I'm about to sneeze. Hey, Susan 1850. Glad you made it in. We got Shorty Pie. Hey, Babs. Good afternoon, Z Raven girl. All right. So on the 19th at 9:57 a.m., Mackenzie says, "Morning, babe." Dom says, "Good morning, babe." Mackenzie says, "I slept good last night, to be honest. Hopefully, I'm not tired all day, but it's not going to rain anymore today, I think." Dom says, "Don't smoke weed or hit a vape till I say you can." Mackenzie says, "I'm going to be done vaping and try to hit the carts too. Try not to hit the carts." Dom says, "Fesho. Is your dad at my house?" Mackenzie says, "LMFAU, I don't know. Probably they need to take pics of the pool thing. I was supposed to do it, but I forgot." Dom says, "I came home and there's a BMW motorcycle. LOL." Mackenzie says, "What is he doing?" Dom says, "I don't know. I didn't see him." Mackenzie says, "Oh, LOL. My eyebrows like amazing right now." Dom says, "I didn't know it was him. I think he just fucking with the heater for the pool." Mackenzie says, "Yeah, that's what he needed to do. What you gonna do today? I low-key want to smoke right now." Dom says, "Don't, and I'm gonna shower and I might go hang with Trevor and Bartula at 3. Mackenzie says, "I won't, LOL. Okay, after you kick it, hit me up." Okay, I gotta take a break to say, I saw, just scanning through, I saw them say that the BMW was at Dom's house. I totally thought that that was going to be a message about him going over to buy weed, but it wasn't. He was checking the pool heater. Hey, Brandy K. Brandy K is an OG around here. Good to see you. Hey, Kung Fu Panda. Good to have you in here. Rainbow Ribbon says in the words of Barney, "Hello again to all my friends." Yes. Oh man, I wonder if babysitting our like younger millennial cousins is why all of us elder millennials like to say, hey friends, whenever we start out. It's kind of a millennial thing. It just feels good, you know. You guys enjoy watching my content, I think of you as an online friend. Rainbow Ribbon says, "I feel like I'm in the Twilight Zone when they're sweet to each other." Right? Yeah, like, oh, it's like, wait a minute. Is this actually them texting? Shorty Pie says, "I love you, you love me, we're a happy family." Okay, let me switch back to the message. Brandy K says, "Guess how many more texts are to remain?" Oh God, so many. Actually, I can tell you exactly, thanks to the Reddit hero that searched these or separated these out into an Excel sheet. Okay, it was just over 80,000 texts. We are on 21,441. Oh man, so yeah, we got a bit to go. That's funny, Kung Fu Panda. Brandy says, "Barney was my daughter's world." Barney was a lot of kids' worlds. Probably Gypsy Roses too. Remember the Barney at the crime scene? Ugh. Okay, back to these messages. Mackenzie says, "I won't, LOL. Okay, after you kick it with them, hit me up. But tomorrow we def go to one of those places." Dom says, "What, Ludenville?" Mackenzie says, "Yeah, watch this video. What the fuck?" Dom says, "What the fuck?" Mackenzie says, "I don't know. WTF. Did you see the house arrest anklet?" Dom says, "I didn't." Mackenzie says, "It's unseen. There's sweatpants under. You can see the bulk." Dom says, "Oh, LMAO." That's funny. Mackenzie's out there laughing at people on house arrest, and now she's in a whole ass prison. Lord. Mackenzie says, I'm bored AF and I can't really even tan. I'm trying to tan right now, but the sun keeps going away. Dom says, that's tough. Maybe we can chill for a little. I don't have much to do. Mackenzie says, well, aren't you going to Trevor's? And I'm down to chill. Dom says, at like 3. It's 12:40 in the afternoon, like before 1 p.m. whenever Dom has said this. Mackenzie says, you want to hang for a little? Dom says, WTF. Mackenzie says, right? That shit gross AF. What you doing? Dom says, I'm with Blair waiting to go to Trevor's. Mackenzie says, I'm tanning. It got hot. I'm excited for tomorrow. Dom says, canoeing? We should get food to bring. Mackenzie says, that's what I'm saying. I can go to the store with my mom. Dom says, I was going to say we can go if you want. That'll be easier. Because you won't eat lunch meat, really, right? Mackenzie says, I mean, it depends on what kind. Like, I like lunch meat, but not with bread. LMFAO. Just let me know what I should get, and me and my mom will go. Dom says, I'll probably just get my own shit from the deli real quick. Sounds like Dom does not trust Mackenzie and Natalie picking out food. Mackenzie says, okay, I'll get some snacks right now too. Insta. Dom says, yeah, get good chips. Mackenzie says, okay, I will. Dom says, Def the cheesy ruffles. Dom says, babe, I was already going to get those. Did you see Insta? Dom says, yeah, I like those. Mackenzie says, it fits me really pretty good now. It used to be a little loose. Dom says, you should wear those more. Def would be more comfortable than the jean shorts. Mackenzie says, yeah, but I'm active AF and I like to sit with my knees up. So it's going to be hard to sit normal LMFAO, but I'll wear them. Dom says, oh, true. Mackenzie says, it's hard to find dresses that fit me. Dom says, yeah, no knees up. Mackenzie says, also, make sure the place we're going to be open. I just checked. I think it is. Dom says, you check. Okay, bet. Mackenzie says, it says it's open. You look too, though. Dom says, okay, I'll look. I'm trying to find food right now. Mackenzie says, okay, talk to you later. I'm on my way to the store. Let me know if you want anything specific. Dom says, beef jerky. Mackenzie says, LOL, what kind? Dom says, sweet and hot. Mackenzie says, okay, LMFAO, what should I all get? I got chips and jerky so far. I got snacks. Dom says, bet. Mackenzie says, what you doing? Dom says, at Trevor's. Mackenzie says, what y'all doing? Dom says, just chilling right now. Mackenzie says, that thing delivered. How early are we waking up tomorrow? When do I need to be ready? Dom says, I don't know. Look it up on the internet. Mackenzie says, it opens at 9 a.m. Set a reminder because we got to go early. Dom says, okay, what time do we have to be there to do the 10 mile? Mackenzie says, I don't know. You look. There's only 7.5. Dom says, really? Mackenzie says, look at the website. Mohican has a longer one. Dom says, nah, Ludenville. Mackenzie says, I spell that bad. Dom says, oh. Mackenzie says, yeah, you pick whatever one, and Mohican is in Ludenville. What one? Dom says, Mohican probably let me check. Are you up? Oops, then it goes over to the 20th. Okay, so they have planned a canoeing trip for the next day. I wonder, do we think they're actually going to make it canoeing? Or is Dom going to bail on her? Oh, man. Brandy K says, OMG, we had talking interactive Barty and a B-Day video. My girl's head floating on a graph body VHS. That's funny. Rainbow Ribbon says, I tried to make my two oldest like anything else, but they always come back to the purple dinosaur. Yep. Shorty Pie says, I smell a fight coming. Yeah, it kind of seems like it. Ivona says, I wonder how long this non-fighting stage will last. For real, for real. Maria Onlyhan says, hello, everyone. Entertain me. My chickens are free-ranging, so I have a little time on my hands. Love to you all. Awesome. Yeah, hang out with us for a bit. We're trying to figure out, like, they've been getting along a little bit, and they've planned a canoeing trip for the 20th. Is it actually going to happen? Maria's Only Hens has the coolest animal channel, although her and Koi Kane are in a running for each other. You know, Koi Kane's got the peacocks. Maria's got the bunnies and the chickens. Koi's got the pigs, you know. It's pretty cool. I love watching both of them. Mothership, that's another good channel. Mothership says, seems like Mackenzie imprinted on Dom. Yeah, I was scrolling through their texts too, and I noticed a text I hadn't read before. It was a few weeks before the crash. They're talking about breaking up again. And Dom says, I really don't think either of us can stand to see the other with anyone else. So, like, yeah, it's weird. They have a weird relationship. Kung Fu says, I love you. You love me. The age difference is a problem you see. Oh, damn. Rainbow says, canoeing up shit creek. Oh, for real. For real. Maria says, that's right. We would be good neighbors. I love Koi Kane. Hell yeah. Shorty Pie says, Kung Fu. That's a good one. Brandy says, did she ever really break up with him? Not that I've seen yet. He tries to break up with her all the time, but I never see her doing anything but freaking out about it. She threatens him, but she never actually does it like he does. Okay, let me switch back to their text. Okay, so at 9:27 on the 20th, Dom starts the chat. He says, are you up? Mackenzie says, yes. Dom says, I'm pretty much ready. Mackenzie says, me too. Scoop, bring water and towels. Dom says, I got to eat and go to the bathroom. Lord, he always has to go to the bathroom. Then he says, walk over or skate. Mackenzie says, okay, on my way. Dom says, okay, bring the stuff to put in the cooler. Mackenzie says, okay. Dom says, so you might need a ride. I'm about to take another shit. Good Lord. Mackenzie says, my mom taking me an LMFAO. I knew it. Dom says, can you bring your bread too? We only have rye. Mackenzie says, I'm already here. I'll have my mom bring it. Dom says, well, you didn't open the text, but it's cool. We can pick it up. Mackenzie says, I'm getting some now. It's like half a loaf. Dom says, that's enough. Mackenzie says, okay, good. Dom says, look for Mazda keys. Mackenzie says, okay. Dom said, oh, okay. So Dom told her to look for the Mazda keys, and Mackenzie said, okay, at 10:40 a.m. in the morning. Next text isn't till 8:30 p.m. on the same day, military time 2031. And it's Dom, and he says, hey, babe. Mackenzie says, I'm scared. Dom says, we'll be fine, just a little ticket. Mackenzie says, I'll say it's mine. Dom says, I just hope we can drive home together. No, for me, it's just a ticket. You still got other? Mackenzie says, me too. The other what? Dom says, you know. Mackenzie says, the weed? Dom says, yeah. Mackenzie says, in my thong. Dom says, what? Mackenzie says, thong. I'm having a panic attack. Dom says, okay, yeah, keep it there. We'll be out soon. Mackenzie says, okay, they saying they can pat me down. Dom says, tell them no and record that harass. Mackenzie says, are you okay? And I said that. I'm texting gay Kyle. He texted me, the cops getting shift. Babe, what did they find? They threw shit everywhere. I can't find my glasses. Dom says, I don't know, they probably somewhere. Mackenzie says, what is going on with you? Dom says, he just doing paperwork. Mackenzie says, what is happening to you? Bruh. Dom says, did you find your glasses? Mackenzie says, yeah, they were under your seat in the back seat. Your glasses were on the floor too. They ripped one of your papers too, but I cleaned up. Are you coming back? Dom says, I'm trying. Mackenzie says, what is going on? Dom says, were my glasses out of the case? Mackenzie says, no. Dom says, okay, bet. That's a weird thing for him to ask. Mackenzie says, what is happening right now? Dom says, he's still doing paperwork. Mackenzie says, okay, so what are you getting a ticket for? Like, what is happening? Dom says, speeding and weed, probably. You can check the battery for the cart is still there. Mackenzie says, I did as soon as I got back. It is, babe. And that's the end of that day's text. So it seems like they did go canoeing and then they got stopped for weed on the way back. I wonder, Mothership, I think you'll probably know this. Is this the stop? This is in June 2020, June 20th, 2020. Is this the stop that there is that body cam footage of where Dom was, they were saying, you know, oh, Dom's being a lawyer like his mom. Very weird. Maria says, here comes the fighting. Mackenzie or Brandy says, sorry, Brandy, I didn't mean to call you Mackenzie. The M in Maria's only hands just took my brain to Mackenzie because I keep reading her name so much. Brandy says she's getting mad attention in prison and you know she loves it. Oh yeah, that's why I quit calling her Sharilla the Killa in my live stream titles because she likes it, apparently. Mothership says, I think so. Okay. Rainbow says he was cosplaying as legal rep. Yeah, sorry, Brandy. Let me scroll up in the comments real quick. Brandy says, can you imagine the drama they would say of her? She probably really enjoys it. Real reverse, definitely. Rainbow Ribbon says, how is that harassment? She's carrying illegal drugs, for fuck's sake. Well, let's see, when is Mackenzie's birthday? I mean, she's still a minor, even if she's over 16, but I think she might still be 16 at this moment. And I think there's different rules about being able to search minors. I might be wrong, but I'm not sure. Kung Fu Panda says the defense restroom is a room of cold steel and safety. It is in a world of cold steel. Mothership says, oh, listen to part 2. She is not happy about the attention. Okay. Sharilla the Lady Thrilla. Like gorilla. Hold on just a moment, friends. Little Johnny is meowing at the door. He wants to go out. I've got the door shut in here, and he's ready to go get a snack, I think. Hey, Lucky. You ready to go out? He's getting bigger, and his meow is maturing, but he's still got that little kitten sound to him. I love it. Okay, let me switch back here. Oh, I thought that was weird when Dom says, were my glasses out of case? I mean, maybe he's just got some nice glasses and he was worried about them being scratched up. But it made me wonder if maybe he had something stashed in his glasses case. I don't know. Oh, I was going to look up Mackenzie's birth date to see if she's 15 or 16 here. A girl, stop typing. No, her birthday isn't till August 2nd, so she still would have been 15 here. So, like, yeah, I don't know. Brandy says he wants something, so makes babyish cries when he wants. Oh, that's true. Yeah, he can lower it a little when he's not trying to get his way. I don't remember that, Kung Fu. Mothership says Doug's in between Big Boy and Puppy too. It's comical to watch him decide whether to squat or lift his leg. Dogs are so funny when they're like that, especially the big ones. Okay. Let's see what they say about this on the 21st. On the 21st, Mackenzie texts first at 11:27 in the morning. She says, good morning. Dom says, good morning back, babe. Mackenzie says, I slept so good. Dom says, LMAO. Mackenzie says, how'd you sleep? And I'm going to need to move your plants to your house soon. Oh, she said, move plants to your house soon. Yeah, we noticed in the text yesterday that Mackenzie is growing, like she's sprouting and starting plants, and then they move them to Dom's house, and Dom was telling her, hey, we need more plants, kind of thing. Mackenzie says, what you doing, babe? Questions. Dom says, I'm really busy at Trevor's. I'll send video. Mackenzie says, I'm about to go out and eat with my fam. Dom says, okay, don't text about anything. And I mean anything. He's worried about his text getting subpoenaed since he got, stopped for weed, I assume. And there Mackenzie just said, I'm gonna need to move plants to your house. So he's warning her. Mackenzie says, I know, babe. And Dom says, well, sometimes you do. Mackenzie says, okay, MB LMFAO. Good luck, babe. And Dom says, what are you doing? Mackenzie says, I'm at Outback waiting for food. Dom says, I don't got any money on me. Can you order me food? Mackenzie says, LMAO, I could probably get you something and just bring it to you when I leave. You got to tell me what you want. Dom says, no, like I'm starving, busting my ass, and I was going to go to the deli, but I have no cash on me. Like DoorDash me something real quick because I put money on your card. Mackenzie says, what do you want? And you want it to Trevor's? Dom says, Charlie's sub. Okay, Mackenzie says, okay, let me see if I can. What's Trevor's Addy? Mackenzie says, okay, thanks after he sends it. Dom says, you should have enough on your account. Mackenzie says, I have 31. Is that good? Dom says, just get me one sub, medium or large. Yeah. Mackenzie says, okay, I got you. I'll let you know when it's there. Dom says, just make sure no weird shit on it. Okay, bet. Mackenzie says, give code. I used your number for text. You will know when it's there. Okay, babe? Dom says, okay, I didn't get text yet. Mackenzie says, oh God, okay, it's going to be there in 15 minutes. Dom says, bet. Oh, I just got a text. Mackenzie says, okay, good. Dom says, you put in the right Addy? Mackenzie says, yeah. On my way home, you get the food? Dom says, yeah, they put lettuce on it. Mackenzie says, okay, how is it? Dom says, it was pretty good though. And Mackenzie says, and WTF, I put no lettuce. Dom says, actually, it was like it wasn't bad. Mackenzie says, okay, I rate 4 starts. Dom said, but wasn't Charlie's sub level, for show. Mackenzie says, how's it going over there? Dom says, bad now, really good. I'll tell you later. What on earth? Mackenzie says, okay, babe, you still there? Dom says, yeah, we'll be here for a bit and a little bit. Dom says, LOL, okay, babe, hit me up when you're home. Dom says, okay. Mackenzie says, please answer, 3 seconds. Dom says, why? I'm at Trevor. Mackenzie says, I want to show you something. It's really cool. You gonna be happy? Please, babe. Dom says, can I do it in a little? I'm in the middle of something. Mackenzie says, I mean, it will only take 3 seconds. Are you still busy? Dom says, yeah, I've been sitting here all day, to be honest. Mackenzie says, so you weren't busy? Dom says, question mark? No, I've been sitting here all day, busy as F. My back hurts. I haven't left my chair or Trevor's house. Mackenzie says, oh, I thought you'd been all day. I was like, WTF. Dom says, or went to the bathroom. He's got a shit. Mackenzie says, I'll give you a massage bay. Also, me and the neighbors across the lake got hella beef right now. Dom says, LOL, why, babe? Mackenzie says, first the recording, now they put hella tree branches in the only path, so I had to climb over them. Like they had so much room to put the sticks and they threw them in the walkway. Want to hang? Dom says, I'm still busy. Mackenzie says, really? I just got bit by my hamster. What you doing? Dom says, still busy. Mackenzie says, unsure face. Dom says, I'm about to be done. Mackenzie says, well, now it's way late, too late to hang. Dom says, well, I'm sorry, babe. I didn't have time to do anything today. I made no money, didn't smoke any blunts, and barely ate. Actually, I smoked a roach. LOL. Mackenzie says, you probably got hella done, so it's okay. FaceTime me. Dom. And that's their last text on the 21st. Let me check comments real quick before we go into the 22nd. Hey, Ruth Carroll, good to see you. And Tony 1300, I'm glad you were able to pop in. All right, Brady. Poopy meds. For anyone who doesn't follow the Gypsy Rose saga, in the bottom of Dee Dee's infamous medicine cabinet was like prescription Miralax, and it said poopy meds on it in a Sharpie. Ugh. Okay, I think I've checked comments real quick. Maria's only hand says, where's all the D&D? I know, right? We haven't had one yet. I'll have to just do it anyway, because Maria said D&D, right?
Dungeons and Dragons. I live in a world of cold steel.
There was someone in the replay crew that said in a comment on yesterday's, is the D&D thing going to happen every time? Because I cannot. And I'm like, yeah, that's the thing I've been doing. Hopefully they come around to it and join us. Join us. We live in a world of cold steel. Okay, let's see how they do on the next day. Okay, on the 22nd at 2:25 a.m., Dom says, "Babe, I'm sorry. I don't know how I didn't see this. I was really busy. Call me in the morning." At 6:39, Mackenzie's Whoops, sorry guys. I'm glad I checked comments real quick. I adjusted my microphone and accidentally hit that mute thing again. What was the last thing I said, y'all? Let's see. Looks like I was muted for about a minute there. Okay, let me scroll up a little bit. So Mackenzie, Dom said he was at the dentist. Mackenzie said, "Hey, Island girl, good to see you." Maria says, "Oh my, I was about to call the FBI." Okay. Yeah. So Dom said he was at the dentist. Dom says, "Yeah, but I have to leave to finish." Mackenzie says, "What you mean?" Dom says, "I'll tell you later. Let me do some things. I'll bring you with me when I'm done." Mackenzie says, "Yay, I'm wearing a surprise. Holy shit. I forgot to tell you, I have to stop smoking for 3 days tomorrow." Oh boy, here we go with that again. Dom says, "That's tough." Mackenzie says, "I'm going to get my teeth fixed in 4 days." Dom says, "At least your teeth will be good." And then 1 minute later, he texts and he says, "A 14-year-old." And it seems like they must have sent each other something on a different app or something because they completely changed the subject. I really wonder what they're talking about. Because Dom says a 14-year-old, and Mackenzie says, "Yeah, LFMAO. What if it was Kyle?" Dom says, "Like a dude or a girl?" Mackenzie says, "I don't know." Dom says, "To be honest, it probably was. He don't look that old though. He looked like 25. Mackenzie says, "I know. He looks in his 20s. Dom says, "Do they mean older like 50 plus?" Mackenzie says, "I don't know how older they talking. Oh." Dom says, "I don't know. I almost want to show him." Mackenzie says, "I'll ask my mom." LOL, do it. Dom says, "Nah, LMAO, not yet at least." Mackenzie says, 14-year-old riding a bike. Dom says, "To be honest, I mean, he does chill with Louie a lot." Mackenzie says, "The guy was 20. Dom says, "Who?" Mackenzie says, "He said he was looking for friends, the guy in the white Tesla." Dom says, "It was definitely him. Why does he like to chill with kids?" Mackenzie says, "OMFG, that's weird as F. I hope it's not." Dom says, "It's weird though, because like he is cool with Brody and cool with Louie and all these freshmen. I don't know why he'd be trying to find friends." Mackenzie says, "It was in Sheffield Lake. I think too, it's weird. The guy has strong filled plates." Dom says, "Where is Sheffield?" Mackenzie says, "It's by the lake, so I don't know if it was him. But if it was Kyle, I'ma be dead." Dom says, "Yeah, that's a weird area. Plates registered Strongsville, though." Mackenzie says, "That's what I'm saying." Dom says, "You should see if you can get plate number and I'll check if it's his." Mackenzie says, "Here's the Facebook post. It not sending. Hold on." Dom says, "Kyle is 30. Get plates." Mackenzie says, "Oh shit, really?" Dom says, what did he look like? Mackenzie says, that's all the post was. Bruh. Dom says, you should have your mom ask them. Is this that Strongsville moms group that they were talking about, I wonder? Like the Facebook post that they're talking about? Weird, weird. Brandy says, I will stop. Kung Fu says, who's messing with us? Thank you so much, Miss Lindy J. I appreciate that. Kung Fu says, can you guys hear? Yeah, I shouldn't be on mute anymore, Kung Fu. It was just for about a minute. I hope you can hear it now. Highland Girl. Ivona says she can hear. Kung Fu says, I had to leave and come back in to hear again. Thanks for answering, so I knew it was on my end. Cool, cool. I'm glad you can hear again, Panda. Yeah, this is so weird. Mackenzie says, okay, I will. Dom says, because, yeah, I mean, if Kyle is a weirdo, I won't really care as long as I know. And he gives me good advice. Well, that is not cool. If this guy is 30 and he's messing with a 14-year-old, like, you know, anybody with sense should give a shit, in my opinion. To her credit, Dom says, he gives me good advice. Mackenzie says, bruh, I will not want to be around him if he did that. That's so weird. I hope it's not him. Dom says, Kyle is 30. I wonder how old Bradbury is. Mackenzie says, bruh, effing out. Dom says, I wouldn't think he'd be driving Kyle's car, but if I can, I will. I think she meant find out. Mackenzie says, this is so weird. Dom says, yeah, see if you can get plate numbers. Mackenzie says, my mom is trying right now. When you leave the dentist, FaceTime me. Dom says, I don't think it's Kyle. Mackenzie says, good. Why do you say that? Dom says, because he don't live in Strongsville. How would his plates be here? Mackenzie says, he just got his Tesla here, though, and he lives in Strongsville. Dom says, that's an Airbnb. Mackenzie says, oh, true. What you doing now, babe? Dom says, busy. Mackenzie says, when are you getting me? I thought it was going to be soon. Babe, you haven't texted back in over an hour. Sad face. Dom says, that's because I'm busy. Mackenzie says, well, you said you would bring me. Like, I thought you were going to get me after that one thing you said you had to do. Like, this is my last day smoking. I'm not trying to sit at home all day. Dom says, yeah, I know. I've been busy as F all day. I don't know why you question me so much. Mackenzie says, I was just confused why you were ignoring me because you said you would pick me up after whatever you were doing, but it's been a while. When are you going to be able to pick me up? Dom says, now, because I'm finally done. Mackenzie says, oh, yay, I look really cute. I'm ready. Dom says, okay. Mackenzie says, are you on the way right now? Dom says, yeah. Mackenzie says, how far? Dom says, here. And Mackenzie says, KK. And that's the end of their text for the 22nd. About to go on to the 23rd. Brady says, tinfoil hats now. Rainbow Ribbon says, pity no one had sense, right? For real. Okay, so on the 23rd at about 6:30 a.m., Mackenzie texts, guess what happened again? My room hot as fuck and my head pounding. Dom says, I'm up too, but I can't see. Mackenzie says, I'm so mad right now. And why? Why can't you see, baby? Dom says, my eyes aren't working. Mackenzie says, just get off your phone and your eyes will be better. OMG, my room is so ducking hot. Dom says, I haven't been on my phone. Mackenzie says, oh, I do not feel good at all right now. I think I'm going to puke or something. My head is hurting. Dom says, go puke. I had to take a bad shit. Barely made it. Mackenzie says, if you felt my room right now, you would flip out. And my mom is being so ducking annoying too. Like, I'm telling her it's hot AF and she's like, don't take it out on me. Like, I'm not telling you it's too effing hot in my room. Dom says, then go turn on the air or open a window. It's nice out right now. Mackenzie says, I'm in the bathroom about to puke, Dom. Dom says, okay, well, the hot air doesn't affect you right now. So after you're done puking, change the air. Mackenzie says, I hate my house so much. Dom says, motivation. Mackenzie says, I think I'm sick. Dom says, I hope not. Mackenzie says, so you could probably be sick too. I'll let you know. Dom says, remember, Chris threw up too. Maybe it was the steak because I woke up and my stomach hurt, but then I just took a shit. Because he says, my head is fucked up and I just feel really weird. I just took meds. Dom says, what meds? Because he says, aspirin or ibuprofen. Dom says, try to go to the bathroom or puke, then go back to sleep. Mackenzie says, I can't puke. Dom says, eat something. Mackenzie says, I'm tired. I'm just laying down now. Dom says, because the pill will hurt your tummy with no food. Mackenzie says, oh my God, I feel so bad. I hate how I feel right now. I def can't eat right now. Dom says, that's what you think till you eat. Mackenzie says, I really couldn't even take the pill. Dom says, just eat a little bit of fruit. How are you feeling now? And that was the last 7:19 until 11:18. Dom says, want to hang? I feel better. Or no, that's Mackenzie. Mackenzie says, want to hang? I feel better. Dom says, nice. Mackenzie says, question mark? What's that shit? And when can I bring plants over? Dom says, I'll probably pick you up. Mackenzie says, when, babe? And did you war he? Dom says, yeah, I did. Mackenzie says, isn't that fucked up? Dom says, yeah, I know that's what they were going to do when Corona happened. Mackenzie says, I do not want that shit to happen. Can you get me sooner now? Dom says, no. Mackenzie says, when can you? Dom says, I have to do 2 things, then I can, but I might go check out a car, which would take a while. Mackenzie says, okay, bet. And shit, what car? If you go look at cars, could I come? It's cool if not, but I'm just trying to hang. Dom says, no, sorry. Mackenzie says, it's cool, babe. Dom says, can you help me find new underwear? Mackenzie says, yes, LMFAO, send me websites. Dom says, I don't know any, that's why I'm asking you. Mackenzie says, Polo or American Eagle? Dom says, yeah, those are Abercrombie. Mackenzie says, okay, I'll find some after I spray paint. Are you busy right now? Do you want to come paint with me? Dom says, I can. I'll come pick you up later. Mackenzie says, you want to drop something to be my friends? Dom says, what and who? Mackenzie says, Cart, to Jaden. I think he's gay. He just moved to Florida and he's back for a couple of weeks. Dom says, Jaden who? Mackenzie says, never mind. AJ did it. Dom says, okay, bet. Mackenzie says, the cop just shot the goose. I feel so bad for the little goose. Dom says, yeah, that's sad. Mackenzie says, it was fucked up. Dom says, what happened to him and what did the cop shoot him with? Mackenzie says, so it was like flipped over and I think its neck was broken. The lady I met there tried to pick it up and it could not hold its neck. It was just laying there on its back, moving its, oh, that's sad. Dom says, that's sad. Mackenzie says, I know, right? When are you going to be done? Dom says, I'm on the way to check out the car. Mackenzie says, ooh, how far is it? Dom says, I'm in the straight hood right now for real. On Lorien Road, we got off Denison. Mackenzie says, WTF. Is that where the car is? Be careful. I just made a TikTok. Let me come over when you come home. Dom says, okay, my phone died. Sorry. Mackenzie says, it's okay, babe. I figured. Dom says, want me to come and we can move the babies? Mackenzie says, yes. I got to show you some funny shit. Are you coming now? Dom says, yeah, I'll come soon. Give me a sec. Mackenzie says, okay, I'm ready. Come, babe. We going to hell. Dom says, what did you do? Mackenzie says, LMAO, I mean the place. Dom says, I know, I was kidding. Mackenzie says, oh, I got you some. Dom says, what you get? Mackenzie says, surprise. Dom says, okay, what you doing now? Mackenzie says, I'm coming back soon. We dropped everyone off. I had hella fun. Morgan and Lexi and Kristen. And that's the end of their text on the 23rd. It's almost like freaky and creepy whenever they're getting along, because I feel like the longer they get along, the worse the blow up's going to be, the more crazy shit they're going to say, you know? Hey, Ophelia, good to see you in here. Hot air, cold steel, right? Shorty Pie says, what the fuck, bit? Oh no, I'm sorry. I hope I'm not having a bad internet day. It looks nice out, but there might be a storm moving in. Rainbow Ribbon says, move the babies. How covert of her. Highland says, the chat is hilarious tonight. Good. Rainbow Ribbons do not diarrhea. Thank you, Ivona. I appreciate that. Shorty Pie says, you got me, millennial. I was surprised to hear Dom say you want to hang. Yeah, as soon as I said it, I was like, wait a minute, that doesn't sound right. And I realized I misspoke on who that text was from. Maria says, Dom says no. Here we go again. D&D, D&D. Maria says, yeah, I was waiting for the explosion. Right, yeah. So we're about to start on the 24th. If they fight the next day, I feel like it's gonna be bad. They've had a few days of, you know, no problems. Oh no, I'm not on mute, Ivona, so I hope it straightens up for you soon. Ruth Carroll says, my sound is good, but it's thundering here. Hope everything stays safe. Thank you so much, Ms. Lindy J. Says, happy poop. Okay, so on the 24th, Mackenzie starts the text at 9:21. She says, morning, babe. When you're up, you should let me come over. Dom says, let me get stuff done. Mackenzie says, I'm at Abercrombie. I got you some. Dom says, what is it? Mackenzie says, the underwear, but I'm not going to show you till I come hang. Dom says, okay, bet. When you coming? Mackenzie says, whenever. When you home? LOL. Dom says, I got to do stuff. Then I'll be home. Mackenzie says, want to go to hell? Dom says, when? Mackenzie says, like Devin, Lexi, me, you, and some more people. I don't know. Dom says, I don't know. The Jag is leaking coolant. I wondered why he was looking at a different car because I was thinking, didn't he just buy the Jag? I hope that helped you, Ivona, if you went out and back in. Yeah, so in the last live yesterday, we read where he was looking at a Jaguar, and I was like, oh no, that's not good because even though his paychecks are from dealing, it's very obvious when they talk about money, Dom is living from paycheck to paycheck. And if he's taken out any kind of loan for this Jaguar and making payments on it, he's not going to have the extra money for whenever things come up because those are so dang expensive. I've had, foreign cars and stuff, and I usually buy them older, really cheap, pay cash for them, and then I don't have a payment and I'm prepared whenever I've got to handle a sudden repair that, is almost suddenly like a payment. But yeah, it's just, anyway, I'll stop rambling about cars here. Yeah, so Dom says the Jag is leaking coolant. Mackenzie says, WTF, what's that? Dom says, oh yeah, can they drive? I don't know if it is anymore. Okay. Mackenzie says, Devin is down to go, and if you go, we could all match. Mackenzie says, I just won't smoke. We going soon? Dom says, I got to stop at Javier's. Mackenzie says, go right now so we can get there. We going at 5 or just go to him after? Dom says, how long will we be? Mackenzie says, I don't know, however long, but you can probably go after. We going at 5. You need to scoop at 5. Are you on the way? Babe. Dom says, I'm on the way home. Mackenzie says, okay, good. We all ready to go. Dom says, I'm about to be there. Mackenzie says, okay, bet. So is Lexi. Dom says, I'm here. Does Lexi have a car charger? And that is the end of their text on the 24th. Oh, now the tension's even worse. Like they didn't blow up on the 24th. How bad's it going to be if they blow up on the 25th? All right, let's see. So on the 25th at almost 11, Mackenzie texts, hey, babe, get a CP season pass so we can go the 9th, 10th. Dom says, okay. Mackenzie says, and we found cabins. It's Cedar Point cabins. Would you want to hang or do you want to do shit before 4? Dom says, I have to do stuff. Mackenzie says, okay, babe, hit me up after. What you doing, babe? Do you want to hang out now? If you're going to decline my call, text me back. Dom says, I'm looking at cars. Mackenzie says, oh, all right. Do you want to hang soon, though? Dom says, probably not. Mackenzie says, oh, I'm going to the dentist tomorrow, though. Are you going to come cuddle me after my appointment? Dom says, I don't know. I didn't get shit done today because of Trevor in my car. Mackenzie says, oh, that's cool. I forgot about that. Also, I forgot to tell you, but we can't find any cabins, so we're going to get a huge tent and go to Nelson's. Dom says, I thought we found some. I don't know. Nelson's don't sound like the move. Mackenzie says, really? We were going to get a big ass tent with like 4 rooms. Lexi's going to make a group chat with everyone that's going. I'll try to find a cabin. We looked for hours and didn't find any. Dom says, it's whatever. Mackenzie says, we all have to chip in 30 for that. And to camp at Nelson's, it's $50. You can't call right now? Sad face. Dom says, I'm about to be home. Mackenzie says, you want to hang? I might whip around on the mini bike. Dom says, I've been really busy. I haven't even showered. Mackenzie says, well, if you do, let me know. I'm going to ride the mini bike to your house. Not, Dom says, no, you won't, LMAO. Mackenzie says, not right now, but if you want to hang, yes, I will. I'll bring over the boxers I got you too. Dom says, LMAO, that'd be funny as fuck. Mackenzie says, you want to hang soon? Dom says, me and Angelo, Ryan, and Shmeesh might hoop. I need food, but I can't drive anywhere. Might just take the Mazda. Mackenzie says, okay, I can just deliver the underwear and then leave. LMFAO. Maybe kick it for a little, then leave because I'm just hanging with Morgan and them. You guys can hoop. I just really want you to see me on the bike. You can come if you want to, by the way. Dom says, to where? I'm not even showered. Probably not. Mackenzie says, I don't know yet, the hill or somewhere. I'll let you know when. Dom says, oh, well, I can't drive my car anyway, so you guys could probably just go. Mackenzie says, we would scoop, babe. If we end up at Kyle's, you should come. I just seen a raw-ass old caddy. I assume, hopefully, they found out Kyle wasn't the 30-year-old with the 14-year-old that they were talking about because they're about to hang out with them. Kung Fu says, the blow-up will be huge. The buildup is getting more and more intense. Exactly. Ophelia says, upkeep. Exactly. Z Raven says, Jags are straight up trash. I honestly don't know anything about Jags. I've usually had German cars when I do a foreign car. Dom says, okay, because I don't know if Ashish will be here soon enough to ball. Mackenzie says, let me know what he does, because if he doesn't, you can come hang with us. It'll be fun. Dom says he probably won't be here till like 8:30 at least, so I'll probably shower and hang with you guys. Mackenzie says, yay, bet. Dom says, I don't know if I should wash my hair or not. Mackenzie says, well, you had build up. Dom says, when? I'm going to just do it tomorrow. Mackenzie says, you said your head was itchy. You showering? Dom says, just got out. Mackenzie says, you want us to scoop? Dom says, let me eat dinner. Where are y'all going? Mackenzie says, the hill or an abandoned place? Dom says, don't go to an abandoned place, just you guys. Mackenzie says, we know. Dom says, for real though, you'll get shot. How does he think he's not going to get shot? Anyway. Mackenzie says, babe, I know. That's why we're waiting for you. You going to be ready soon? Kyle and Kristen meeting you with us. Dom says, I can drive the Jag. Where are y'all going? Mackenzie says, we can scoop, babe. Hill. That one hill. We might go somewhere after. We can scoop right now, though. Dom says, scoop and go where after? I'll just take the Jag. It's way too sexy. Mackenzie says, babe, answer please. LMAO. Okay, go. Go now. And bring 4G for Devin. Dom says, okay. Mackenzie says, we getting money from Devin, then we going. Kristen and Kyle going to be there. We are on the way. Bring me a hoodie, babe. Dom says, what you smoking? Mackenzie says, bong. Morgan's bong. Dom says, oh, okay. Mackenzie says, are you on the way? Dom says, I can't find my woods. Mackenzie says, you don't need to bring a wood. We have a bong, babe. Dom says, okay. Mackenzie says, we got to be there in 5. We here. Dom says, I'm on the way. Mackenzie says, okay, bet. They taking so long. Shake my head. Where you at right now? Bruh. Answer, and effing Devin took so long. He was just talking to this kid and making us wait. Dom says, that's gay. Devin, Mackenzie says, like, Devin and Lexi both taking so long. Like, I don't want to effing wait here. No, I'm mad at Run. I already had to wait 30 minutes for Devin to F my clock out. I'm so annoying. Like, now I'm just waiting. Text Devin to effing hurry. And you're being annoying, too. Thanks for the fast replies. I'm mad at you, by the way. Dom says, what? I wasn't looking at my phone. Mackenzie says, yeah, what the fuck? Like, you don't need to look to feel the buzz. Dom says, what? I really didn't. Mackenzie says, bro, I texted you 40 times. Who all's there? If girls are there, I'm going to be mad too. Dom says, me and Kyle and some other people. Inward. Mackenzie says, I'm mad at you. Effing annoying. I'm really mad right now. You're making it worse. Like, who the F is that girl? I don't even want to be here anymore. Dom says, okay, I'm sorry. Mackenzie says, no, you not. Dom says, that dude's girlfriend. Mackenzie says, she probably a hot, how, ho, and thanks for making me stand. Smile. Dom says, bruh, I don't IDGAF. You don't have to. Mackenzie says, so I'm going to stand. WTF. Like, are you trying to make this worse? Like, it's not hard to not be a D. I'm sorry, I've had a. Oh, that was the last of their messages on the 25th. We're going to the 26th now. No problem, Highland Girl. Thanks for stopping in. Kung Fu says, Jaguars are such beautiful cars, especially after you replace the engine with a non-Jag engine and you can actually use it daily. Oh, that's funny. Yeah, so we are seeing the fight after all that tension. Let's see how it does on the 26th. So on the 26th at 1:45 a.m., Mackenzie texts and says, I'm sorry, I have a really hard day tomorrow and I've been stressed out about it, Dom. You know that I never mean to make you mad. I care about you way too much. I just been tweaked. My anxiety been too much these last couple days. I have like no nails. LU, babe. I'm just cuddling your blanket right now. I'm so sad. Dom says, okay. Mackenzie says, say more. You know I'm stressed, babe. I'm sorry, I can't sleep. Dom says, I know. Mackenzie says, next time something like this happens, I'll be more chill. I just had a really rough night. Dom says, okay, good night. Mackenzie says, good night, babe. Text me if you can't sleep. Dom says, I'm not going to sleep. Mackenzie says, oh, neither am I. I'm trying to, though. Dom says, okay. Mackenzie says, please don't be mad at me. Dom says, I won't. I'm sorry. Mackenzie says, it's okay. I'm sorry too, BB. I'm on my way there at 8. She says, I'm scared. Dom says, you'll be okay, Bab. You'll be okay. Mackenzie says, come over when I'm home. I'm on my way home now. Dom says, okay, how you feel? Mackenzie says, I feel weird. Not like those wisdom teeth vids, but everything feels weird. Dom says, LMAO. Mackenzie says, my whole face is numb. I'm home. Come, babe. Dom says, what you doing now? Mackenzie says, I slept for a little. Now I'm just sit there. My mouth hurts so bad. Come lay. How far are you? Dom says, by the highway. Mackenzie says, okay, so you won to me on the way? Dom says, I have to stop home. Mackenzie says, okay, come fast. Dom says, want to go out to eat at B Spot? Mackenzie says, my dress came in, my really cute one. Dom says, where there? Mackenzie said, is Dom questions, FaceTime me. Dom says, I'm talking to Angela. Mackenzie says, well, I was waiting for you to come to try the dress on. Can you just come over here first? Dom says, yeah. Mackenzie says, okay, yay, come. And that was at 1600, and their next text isn't for 4 hours later. And on the same day, and Dom says, what you doing now? Mackenzie says, me and Morgan having a fire right now, just me and her. We can't get it to start. Dom says, you want to smoke a wood? I'll bring lighter fluid. Mackenzie says, yes, come. If you can, bring chocolate. Dom says, LMAO. Mackenzie says, let me know when you're on the way. Dom says, I have to get woods first. Mackenzie says, bring Smirnoffs, the blue ones. Dom says, okay, hold up. Keep in mind, Mackenzie is still 15 here, smoking dabs, smoking woods, drinking Smirnoffs. Mackenzie says, okay, LMFAO, Morgan want a drink. Dom says, okay, I'll get him. Throw me a 5 or something. Mackenzie says, no, they're at your house, remember? The ones for Jared's. Dom says, oh, where are they? I'm already having Nikki get them. Mackenzie says, I don't remember. Maybe in the fridge. Okay, I'll throw you a 5. Get $5 vodka for Morgan. She said she will pay you back by tomorrow. And Dom is 18 here. Like, neither of them are actually allowed to be drinking, but it feels especially egregious to me with Mackenzie being 15. Dom says, I found them. Mackenzie says, okay, bet. When you get here, come to the gate in the back. Dom says, on which side? Mackenzie says, right. Is Nikki still getting Morgan vodka? Dom says, no, it's probably too late for that. I told her just twee and your shit. Twee is twisted tea, I found out. Someone let me know in the comments. I can't remember what username. Mackenzie says, oh, okay, Morgan don't F with twees, but she has a little vodka left. Dom says, I don't either. Mackenzie says, LMAO, Kristen and Lexon and Devin probably do. Dom says, LOL. Mackenzie says, let me know when you hear. It's just me because Morgan went to get the baby with Lexi. Are they bringing a baby to this? Ugh. Dom says, okay. Mackenzie says, hurry though, I'm alone. How far? Dom says, I'm about to dip. Mackenzie says, yay, you close? Dom says, yeah. Mackenzie says, okay, Morgan's dog is sitting on my lap at the moment. Dom says, where should I park? Mackenzie says, let me ask. Dom says, okay, I'm here. Mackenzie says, just park in the street. Dom says, I'm just parked in the driveway. Mackenzie says, that's fine. She said that okay. Dom says, okay, bet. Mackenzie says, come to the fence. I'm waiting by the fence. Dom says, what do you want me to do with drinks? Mackenzie says, bring them. Morgan's mom coo with drinking. Wonder how old Morgan is. Mackenzie says, everyone else about to pull up soon. Where you at, LMAO? Dom says, Sheen isn't answering anymore. I'ma just chill with Angelo and Ashish. Okay, that's 2 hours later. I guess he was with them for a couple of hours and then sent this. Because this is still in the same day. Mackenzie says, okay, babe, have fun. If you want to hang tomorrow, hit me up. I want to leave, to be honest. I don't feel good. Dom says, have your mom pick you up then. Mackenzie says, I know. Dom says, you're still on that medicine. Mackenzie says, yeah, it takes 12 to get out of my system. Dom says, go home, get a snack and drink, and go to bed. Mackenzie says, okay, want to FaceTime for real if you alone? Mackenzie says, it's lightning so bad right now. Look at the sky. Dom says, I'll check in a sec. It is raining. Mackenzie says, no, the sky just wild. Dom says, oh, that's dope. And that's the end of their 26 texts. I'm about to go to the 27th, and they managed pretty good for a couple of days. I feel like we're going to see yet another fight. Yeah, I'm not sure. They were calling the plants babies. Maybe that is what they mean. Panda says, I definitely experimented, but with kids my own age. Yeah. I think I was 17 or 18 when I started experimenting with alcohol, which, like I said, isn't good, but like, man, 15 to be doing things as hard as she is on the daily is just crazy. Rainbow says, I'm also watering my non-illegal plants. How coincidental. Ivona says, I have to get ready for my eye appointment, so I'll be just listening from now, not in the chat. No problem. Thank you so much for being here. Eliza Ellison, thank you so much for hanging out with us, Eliza. Eliza says, it's alarming that her parents are okay with her drinking while she's taking whatever from the dentist. For real, yeah. And smoking too. Okay, so 27th at almost 10 a.m. Mackenzie says, morning, do you want to hang with me early, BB? Dom says, let me get shit done today, then we probably can. Mackenzie says, yay. Also, are you going to the camping thing? I told everyone you can go. WTF? You said you would go like 20 times. Beb, are you going to be busy for a while or just a little? Because if you're going to be busy for a while, I'm going to go hang with someone, and when you're ready, I'll come through. Dom says, I'll be busy for a bit. Mackenzie says, okay, babe, text me when you're free. Are you joking again or what? Why can't you go those days? You are making me mad AF. Can you stop joking about this so we can plan? Like, I'm not going if you don't go, Dom. WTF. I thought you were done doing that. Like, why are you even on D&D?
Dungeons and Dragons. I live in a world of cold steel.
Where's my place? Why are you even on DMD, Dom? Like, what is going on? Effing embarrassing. Like, how the F can you go from having a convo with me to go to being on D&D?
Girlfriend with the
Because
F.
they're chaotic evil, they would say that.
You go to being on D&D and ignoring me like it makes no sense. WTF is wrong with you? Dom says, what? Mackenzie says, first of all, why the F are you on D&D? Dom says, I wanted to add who's knee. Mackenzie says, he's not coming if you are rude. And you are rude AF. Like I did nothing. And you sit here and ignore me like WTF. OMG, I'm so mad at you right now. You're such a D. Dom says, no, I'm not. Mackenzie says, why are you on D&D then?
Girlfriend with the
Because
F.
they're chaotic evil, they would say that.
Why are you ignoring and not answering my calls? Like you're literally ignoring me and you're acting like that purposefully. Like you're still on D&D. You are fucking disrespectful.
Dungeons and Dragons. I live in a world of cold steel.
OMFG, I'm done with this. It's like you try and make me upset. It's not funny. It never will be funny. I do so much for you. I'm so effing nice to you. And then you think it's funny to do this. You just ruined the whole group. Now we all not going because of you. You're effing childish as shit, Dom. Thanks for ruining something I was excited for. Dom says, it was just a joke. Because he says, thanks for making me cry. No one's effing laughing. Dom says, they will probably all still want to go. Whatever. I don't care. Mackenzie says, get off D&D.
Girlfriend with that.
Because they're chaotic evil, they would say that.
Dom says, I have more time to make money. Mackenzie says, wow, I'm done. You're so mean. Like, why are you nice to me for a couple of days, then you're just so mean the next day? Like, I don't want to be crying in bed right now. Answer the call. Dom says, no. Mackenzie says, why not? Why are you being mean? Like, what did I do? Why are you even on D&D?
Dungeons and Dragons. I live in a world of cold steel.
Dom says, we can still go. It wasn't a big deal at all. Mackenzie says, like, you make me think it's my fault. Dom says, I wasn't being mean, but okay. Mackenzie says, they just uninvited us. Yes, you were, Dom. Call me. You left and they called us childish and uninvited us. Like, why do you play these games? Dom says, okay, fine. Hold up. Mackenzie says, I wanted to go so bad. Okay, stop being mean to me, Dom. Please, I literally can't take it. Like, you are stressing me out so bad. Did you get off D&D?
Girlfriend with that.
Because they're chaotic evil, they would say that.
I tried to call you. Dom says, oh. Mackenzie says, and it went to voicemail. Dom says, yeah, we can still go. Mackenzie says, are you sure? Dom says, yeah, Lexi added me back to the group and says she still wants us to go. Mackenzie says, if you're nice to me, Hoosney can come. I don't really care. I just don't want you to not give me attention. Because I feel like if he goes, you're going to hug me, or you're not going to hug me or be cute with me. Are you off D&D?
Dungeons and Dragons. I live in a world of cold steel.
Dom says, no. Mackenzie says, why? Dom says, I don't like to do that anyway. Mackenzie says, you never on D&D anymore. You know it makes me upset. It makes me feel like you want to ignore me or just leave me on red. I know I don't deserve this. You left again? Like what? What did anyone do to you? Like you're literally mad for no effing reason and you take it out on everyone. It's none of our faults. Like why do you have to embarrass the F out of me like this? Now you're just going to go drive around and not give a F how I feel. And now they talking about me. Thanks, Dom. You really know how to hurt me. Dom says, Lexi said I can leave. I'm driving. Stop blowing me up. Mackenzie says, get off D&D.
Girlfriend with that.
Because they're chaotic evil, they would say that.
You're so right, Panda, but Reno 911 is total classic. Hey, Joy, good to see you. Glad to have you in here. Mackenzie says, get off D&D and be nice and you will get the same back. If you're nice to me, I'll be nice to you. I don't know why you're so mad at me. Dom says, I haven't been mean at all. Mackenzie says, Dom, you've been ignoring me all day. When I found out you were on D&D, I was like, WTF.
Dungeons and Dragons. I live in a world of cold steel.
Because the only time you go on D&D is when you don't want to get my text.
Girlfriend with that.
Because they're chaotic evil, they would say that.
Like, it's okay if you don't want to talk. Just let me know and don't go on D&D.
Dungeons and Dragons. I live in a world of cold steel.
Dom says, okay, fine. I'll get off D&D.
Girlfriend with that.
Because they're chaotic evil, they would say that.
Mackenzie says, thank you, babe. Dom says, just stop whining. Mackenzie says, whining? That is not whining, but text me when you got one more thing to do because I want to hang. Dom says, I'm cool. I'll probably be busy. Mackenzie says, are you serious? Dom says, yeah. Why? Probably. Mackenzie says, you said we could hang out today. And when I called you, I told you Lexi and Sheen want to hang with us. Dom says, still getting shit done. Mackenzie says, you said okay to that. I know I said after. OMG, I'm trying so hard not to freak out. Why are you doing this? Dom says, okay, well, if I'm done in time, I got you. Mackenzie says, how much more shit you got to do? Please don't tell me when you're home because you do that sometimes. Please don't not tell me when you're home because you do that sometimes. I'm hella stressed right now. Dom says, I am home. I got to leave though. I was just stopping for food. Mackenzie says, what you get and how many more runs you got to do? Dom says, pasta and more. Mackenzie says, like a number, babe. Like, do you have less than 5? Babe, please don't leave me on red. Dom says, I don't know. Mackenzie says, How don't you know? LMFAO, you can FaceTime for like 3 seconds. I want to show you something funny AF. Dom says, last stop is at 5:30. Mackenzie says, okay, yay, but FaceTime me real quick. It's really funny. FaceTime. Dom says, can't. Mackenzie says, LMFAO, how did I know you weren't lying about not being on D&D?
Dungeons and Dragons. I live in a world of cold steel.
Rainbow says, is she gone again or is it me? Oh no, I think it's you. I'm not on muted anywhere. Maria says, back again, had to eat. Yeah, they're fighting again, Maria. They had a few days of, barely not fighting and now they're back at it. Okay, Rainbow had to reset. I'm sorry it's being problematic today, y'all. If it was something I could fix on my end, I totally would. Okay, let me switch back here. Mackenzie says, okay, so you're going to be done soon? Dom says, yeah, I'll probably be a little later than 5:30. Mackenzie says, so before 6, can you please FaceTime me so I can show you something? Are you going to be home soon? Dom says, yeah, but I don't know if I want to chill with you guys. Mackenzie says, just me then. You said me and you can hang. Dom says, yeah, but I don't know if I want to. Mackenzie says, bruh, that's for real annoying. I've been waiting. Left on red? I know you on your phone. I don't know what's up with you today. Dom says, I wasn't. I was hooping. Mackenzie says, well, can we hang? Dom says, maybe after I shower. Does Sheen and Lexi still want to? Mackenzie says, they still want to hang. They meeting at the Hill. Dom says, who and when? Mackenzie says, Morgan and Chris too. Devin, Lexi, Morgan, Chris. Dom says, okay, can I go hang with my plugs at 9? His plugs, interesting. Mackenzie says, who? LOL. Can right now? Dom says, B and some of his people. I assume that means that Barchula guy. Mackenzie says, oh, that's fine. Just guys, right? But if we don't go to the Hill before 9, can you wait then go after? Dom says, yeah, should be. Mackenzie says, okay, I don't really care if you go with them. LOL, just don't be dumb. Can I come over now? Dom says, I just got home. I got to eat and shower. Mackenzie says, how long is that going to take? We have no time to hang. Dom says, I'm eating right now. Mackenzie says, okay, try to shower fast because I don't want to have only 2 hours with you. Dom says, okay, I'll get in soon. Mackenzie says, do you have to wash your hair? Can I just come over while you shower? Dom says, no, I did yesterday. Mackenzie says, answer the other thing, Dom. Dom says, yeah. Mackenzie says, okay, when can I come? Dom says, leave in a couple of minutes. Mackenzie says, KK, I'm coming now. Babe, I'm here. Dom says, okay, I'm in the bathroom. Mackenzie says, okay, do you want me to come in? Also, when did you get those pink champion slides? Dom says, today, doors open. Mackenzie says, I'm coming. Dom says, I'm about to get in. And that's the end of their text for that day. And then they go to the 28th and they start texting again just right after midnight. Yeah, I hope it's straightened up for you, Maria's Only Hens. Joy's not having problems with her sound. Rainbow Ribbon says, Joy, how does it feel to be God's favorite? Joy says, Lucifer's favorite. Get it right. Oh, man. Okay, I think I'm going to do about one more day. I'm kind of getting hungry myself, so I'm going to have to get off here and get some food. But, yeah, let's go through one more day here on the 28th. Right after, looks like right after noon, Mackenzie texts Dom and says, I'm giving you some money back. Dom says, why? Mackenzie says, we just got the house for $100 less. I don't know how, but it's much cheaper, and we can't F this up. Dom says, oh, okay. Mackenzie says, no smoking in the house, only outside. Dom says, we could probably smoke in there, just use sprays. Mackenzie says, okay, that's fine too. Dom says, maybe Febreze and Ozium. Mackenzie says, we for real can't duck this up. This lady is so nice. Dom says, like, have one room for smoking? Mackenzie says, okay, that's fine, and we need windows open. Dom says, I'd probably be those other idiots that mess it up. Mackenzie says, this place going to be raw. True. Want to go to Mentor Headlands today? Dom says, I don't know when. I'm waiting on people right now. Mackenzie says, I know. I've been there. Or wait, Mackenzie says, it's really nice there. If you get your shit done quick, want to go? Dom says, I know. I've been there. Mackenzie says, really? We should go. Dom says, if I got time. Mackenzie says, try to go. Babe, we are driving alone, right? Dom says, to where? Mackenzie says, the camping place. What you doing? Dom says, I was busy, then my phone died. Mackenzie says, when you going to be free, babe? Want to go to hell with me and Lexi and maybe other people? Dom says, when I'm free, yeah. Mackenzie says, okay, bet. I'ma be at Mirgam soon. Dom says, what? Mackenzie says, Morgan's. So want to hang soon? We're going to hell around 7 probably. Dom says, okay, bet. I might be able to be done soon. Mackenzie says, okay, yay. Me and Morgan are at Subway. Bruh, I just met the kid who jumped out the window. Dom says, got a couple more things, then I'm down. Mackenzie says, bet. We are at Morgan's Subway party right now, LMFAU. Dom says, what? Let's bring AJ and Shmish. Mackenzie says, okay, bet. Morgan's down. Also bring a wood. Dom says, for show. Shmish might not go. AJ will. Who you with? Mackenzie says, Morgan, Lexi, and Devin coming later. Are you ready? Dom says, do I have to drive? Because I've been driving my mom's car. Mackenzie says, we can probably scoop. We def can. After you is full car unless I'm on your last street. Lap. We scooping in like 6. We getting Devin right now, and I'm dropping off baby, then coming for you. Yeah, see, I'm not so sure the baby is the plant when I'm dropping off baby and then coming for you. Like, if she was taking the baby to Dom's house and it was the plant, like, wouldn't she do that at the same time? I don't know. Rainbow Ribbon says, one more day in peaceful paradise. Hey, Ange Staples, good to have you in here. Ruth Carroll says, I just had a BLT. That sounds good, except for we're having lettuce issues. Gotta be careful about that. Kung Fu Panda says, anyone who ever cleaned an Airbnb after lots of smoke, Ozium and Febreze are no match. I was just thinking that. I'm thinking, yeah, that's not gonna work. It does sound good, right, Kung Fu? Hey, Murray Kell. Glad you was able to pop in for a minute. Okay. Dom says, and I'll get AJ. Mackenzie says, Beb, just come with us. Dom says, why? Mackenzie says, me and you can share a seat. I want to see you. Dom says, I'm not even home. Oh, okay, so maybe it is a baby plant she's dropping off because he's not even home. Mackenzie says, where are you at? Dom says, getting my mom from Scotty's. Mackenzie says, Chris is coming too. You can drive separate if you really want to, but if you're coming with us, it got to be soon. Dom says, I just got home and have to grab Bud. Mackenzie says, we waiting at Devon still. Is AJ coming? Dom says, hold up. Mackenzie says, okay. Dom says, yeah, he is. Mackenzie says, okay, good. I'll let you know when we on the way. Dom says, okay, I'm going to pick him up, then I'll come. Mackenzie says, okay, wait though. We still at Devon's. We leaving Devon's now. We gas stop at Morgan's, then we'll be off. On the way. Okay, we on the way. Wait for us. Dom says, I'm only by Fair Road right now. Mackenzie says, we in the Metro Park. We there pretty much. Dom says, same. Mackenzie says, okay, bet. There's a cop. Where are you at? Are you even here? WTF. That was rude AF. We up there. Everyone on this side. You guys need to come here. So did you find a way? I'm so mad you ruined this shit for me. Like now, I'm just here alone and you there with AJ when I ducking invited you. Like this is BS. Dom says, okay, sorry, I'll just leave and pretend you didn't invite me. Mackenzie says, I wanted you to come. You're not sorry, Dom. Cross the river and come here. And the cop is probably gone. If you're really sorry, then you will try to get over here. But you probably not sorry, so too whatever. This shit is so annoying. And then you just don't answer. Nice, Dom. Like you for real, find a way to do some shit like this every time. Like I am not having fun. For real, like I'm going to leave. For real, I'm for real mad at you, Dom. Dom says, I can't get across the river. I was trying. I'm still here. Hello? Should I just start rolling the woods here? Mackenzie says, well, you're over there with just AJ and you won't come. Drive to the apart and come from there. Dom says, so should I? No, the cop probably still there. Mackenzie says, the cop is 100% gone. It's been 2 hours. Dom says, then I have to go all the way back and then I have to drive here. Mackenzie says, they are saying it's gone. Dom says, I'm not trying to walk all the way back. You told me go over the river and it's too hard. Mackenzie says, that's how Devin and Chris did it. Like, I want you over here. Dom says, I can't get over there, my bee. Mackenzie says, I wanted to hang with you. You should have just came over with us. Dom says, I don't know, too late now. Mackenzie says, go on two of the train tracks and walk over here. Dom says, how? I was about to start rolling. Mackenzie says, Devin says you talked about that. Well, don't, and come over here. I want to leave, Dom. I'm upset, to be honest. Dom says, we still trying. Mackenzie says, I'm about to be green-out. I feel so sick. I'm shaking. Dom says, why? Mackenzie says, too high. Dom says, how? Mackenzie says, bong. Dom says, should I just leave now? Mackenzie says, I'm too high. Dom says, should I just leave now? Mackenzie says, I don't care. I want to hang with you. Dom says, how much longer are you going to be there? Mackenzie says, I don't care. I don't know. Dom says, can you ask, not coming to Lee? Let me know. I'm in the car. And that's the end of their text on the 28th. Weird, weird, weird. Exactly, Rainbow Ribbons. How is she getting too high off a bong whenever she takes dabs all the time? That doesn't make any sense to me at all. Oh, man. Ruth Carroll says, my summertime favorite, fresh tomatoes. I've had this lettuce before. Oh, good. I'm glad you got safe lettuce. Kung Fu says, instead of talking or singing to their plants, they took them on dates and parties. Oh, that's funny. Hey, McCatherine, good to see you in here. Sorry, I hiccuped. Good to see you in here. Oh, man. Hey, Secret Wars. So glad you made it in. Yeah, I am actually just finishing up, but thank you for watching on the replays. I appreciate all y'all on the replay crew very, very much. Well, I am going to go ahead and end this, friends. I know it's not as long as I have been going lately, but yeah, I'm going to get off here and get a snack. Mothership says higher concentration of THC. I mean, the dabs are way higher concentration of THC than anything you can possibly get with a bong. So I don't know. That part just really confuses me. Secret Wars says, will do again then. Yeah, I feel bad that whenever people just come in as I'm just about to start, I'm getting super hungry though. So I got to go. Yep. Have a good day, everyone. Thank you so much for being in here, and I will talk to y'all again soon.